Carlos Nelson with Cascade Media Group, and tonight, this is a segment we call discussing issues that are affecting our community. And tonight, got one of my partners on, partners in crime that's really not afraid to speak truth to power. And I talked to him off camera. And I talked a lot, and I tell him, I can't be bringing people on this show that are afraid to speak truth to power because of financial reasons. And I understand that everybody's got to watch what they say to a degree when your livelihood is at stake. But from my perspective, when you're not working with individuals like Bishop Cowell and myself and supporting us, not just with moral support, financially, where we're speaking truth to power at our risk of not being able to earn an income and so forth. I think it's applaudable. But without further ado, Bishop,
hey,
let's
thank
talk
you for having me on the show again. At least I didn't get put off of this show, huh?
No, you can't get put off this show, Bishop. You got an investment in the company, baby boy. So, on the serious note, I want to talk about a couple of things. And we've had this recent shooting by the 16-year-old here in the Midwest, Kansas City, that has made national news. And I want to have some discussion on that. So what are your thoughts on the whole situation, Bishop?
Now, as usual, I got to throw my disclaimer out there. Only talk to me if you want the truth, the raw truth, because that's where I'm going to bring it. And what my thoughts on there, everybody is skating around the elephant that's in the room. I have been to 4 meetings today with the chief's office, the sheriff's office, the prosecuting attorney, and everybody's scared to mention the word racism. I mean, I looked at the probable cause. Racism is there plain and day, but nobody wants to bring it up because they're too afraid. That's a hot topic, and it speaks to truth to power. And right now, we are in the most racist climate there has been in years.
Yeah, well, I'm in total agreement with you. Not just on what's happening with this particular situation, but the total climate is a white supremacist climate. I'm switching gears to the former President Trump. All of the different things that he has been faced with, all kinds of allegations and what have you, and some have been substantiated. And you look at his approval rating with the majority community, no less, I can say, the white community. It's unthinkable that he could even show his face on the streets, less more running for president. If you roll back the clock 25 years, just a quarter century, one of those allegations would have disqualified him for everything. And
he said something that a lot of people did not catch, even during his campaign. He said, I know that I can shoot somebody in broad daylight on Park Avenue and get away with it. He knew that he was set up, or should I say set. He set people in places, and there were people in places regardless of what he did, how bad it was going to take up for him and shield him. That's a
Without a
problem.
doubt. But I think it's a larger issue of what America has evolved into from what's important. And what's important in most Americans' minds, per se, and now it's even globally, is how am I going to get mine?
Yes.
And I'll do whatever. You remember about 3 months ago when I wrote and you commented, I said 99% of every Black person that I know will say whatever you want them to say if you're gonna pay them.
That's true.
All right.
That's true.
But hold it. You know what? Do you think that we would admit to that? As I get in conversations with my peers all the time, notable Black men that you might know or what have you, and they always want to tell me about their own man. but I'm like, but you go to work for Blue Cross Blue Shield, don't you? That's why you can't say what you want to say. You go to work for AT&T or you go to work for this one. How many of y'all ever worked for yourself, let's say 5 years, that you created something out of nothing? And they don't have it because all of them are dependent upon the majority community for their income, but they're out here posing like they represent the Black community. I'm not saying that they're not doing anything, but you cannot represent your community unless you are unfettered to be yourself, to present your issues, not somebody else's issues that is written on a piece of paper for you to present. And when I look at this whole, our whole community, and I'm all over the place, but that's what I said to you earlier, what we're going to be talking about. When I look at all the business organizations, you talk about a Black chamber or this chamber, all of them work with the Kansas City Chamber of Commerce. They do everything in their facilities, and they get a few plaques, but they will not build their own. We will not build our own institutions and work with people that already have a foot up. And I don't understand that.
You're so right. I'm gonna tell you something. There was something that was said Monday night in a meeting. This Monday night in the meeting, Ron Hunt came in and said something. He said, I had to reach out to the Justice Center and Bishop Caldwell for one reason. He said, because of what I need to do and say, I know that most people won't do it because they're in too many other people's pockets. He said, I know one thing I can say, regardless of good, bad, or whatever, we know that Bishop doesn't take money from nobody. He's not aligned with anybody other than the community and the truth. So we have to understand and get behind people like yourself and people like us that are not beholding to systems, people that dangle stuff over our heads, because you won't be able to speak truth to power. You won't be able to talk about the racism. You won't be able to talk about the elephant that's in the room. We'll keep skating over it and keep whitewashing it to where it gets so watered down. We believe we drank the Kool-Aid. We drank the Kool-Aid and going along with it.
And right now, bringing the conversation back on to this young man's shooting, when I talked about block voting and group economics for the last year and who is responsible for that. And who is responsible for all of this are the same people that, from my perspective, that are out here in front of the camera saying, we represent the community and we don't like this and that. This is not something that is happening just today. If you're representing us, that's a 365 day a year representation, not just when the shooting goes down or the tragedy goes down and then you're up in arms and what have you. And as I said, block voting and group economics, who is responsible for that? Who is responsible for changing the law? The law is what has us in these minds and all these marches and all this, as far as I'm concerned, intellectual masturbation about what the problems are and what have you. And the leadership really doesn't want to listen to any solutions.
Because you know why? Because they won't hold them accountable. They're too scared to hold them accountable. They're too scared to put them on blast. They're too scared to, after they elect somebody into office, to say, you know what, I elected you in that office and I'll take you out of that office. Once a person gets into office around here, who's in charge of the are responsible for the block voting? Those that we elect. Who's in charge for the climate around here? Those that we elect. But we're scared to hold them accountable because of our own egos. No, let me take that back. Our own greed, because we're scared we're going to get cut off or they're going to get cut off of their finances because now they're beholden to them. You sold out. That's a big sellout. You don't know how to say, you know what, regardless of if you pay me or not, I'm going to speak the truth.
How do you feel the overall climate here in Kansas City for people of color?
Crappy. I'm just going to be true. It's crappy. We know that it's just like this. The guy that shot Ralph, the 16-year-old shot this kid. He knew he could do that. He knew that he could shoot somebody and get away with it. He knew that the system is set up to all he has to say is, oh, I was scared. How you scared? You open up the door, you shoot
He
through
shot
the
through
door,
the door.
shot through a glass door. You already seen who it was. And then you go outside to try to finish him off. You're not scared. That's not castle law. That's not defending your home. And then turn around and tell him, you people should not be over here in this area. You
What do
people
you
aren't
think
supposed to
about
be
the
here.
$200,000 bond that was put on him?
Ridiculous. But after sitting down with the prosecutor, I understand now. And the reason I say I understand now is because of the charges that was brought at that time, because they did not have the other side's, he was still in the hospital. Now, sometimes we set ourselves up for failure. And what I mean by that, I'm not knocking nobody, but I'm going to speak to the truth. His attorney told him, don't talk to the police. Now, how can you not tell your side to get the charges higher, to get the person locked up, to get a higher bond if you don't tell what happened to you? You're the victim now. You're not the perpetrator. I understand if you're the perpetrator saying don't talk to the police, but you the victim. You talk, you tell everything. So you understand that person gets locked up more. So that was a bad on our part in that area, but we have to do things different. We gotta change this climate. We gotta fix ourselves and hold each other accountable.
What do you think about last week reparations? The mayor was supposed to put together some type of panel, and it didn't take place, and we missed the deadline. And I want to add this on. I talked to some people, and they were saying, "Well, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to like piss the mayor off." And this is the issues in general, as far as I'm concerned. We soft shoe around a lot of different things because we know we might have to deal with the different things. And I frankly say, and I don't care what nobody says, when the mayor first got in office, I did a bunch of interviews with him before anybody. And then as soon as he started becoming popular, I couldn't even get an interview. He would stand me up. We got the only black-owned really digital communications company, and I'm not gonna let that go. And when I said to him, how come you can't never have a news conference at Cascade Media Group's office where the other news agencies come there to get the story? That's empowering Black business. That's empowering our community. That's working together. And Quentin has done a fairly good job. He's got his detractors, but again, speaking truth to power. And
you want to know why?
And if that makes him or the administration be mad at Mr. Nelson or Cascade Media Group, let it be.
You know why that happened? Because you speak truth to power. When you can't be controlled, they can't come around you. They just can't. Because you're liable to say something on air to put them on the spot, to make them have to answer something. That's terrifying to them.
Yeah, but let me say this. You've been knowing me for a minute. And I don't care what politician or who comes on, I ask them what you want to talk about. I'm not in the business of putting you on the spot. Now, you know, just like before you came on, I said, what are your issues? What do you want to talk about? Didn't I ask you that?
Yes.
And then I said, this is what I'm going to talk about. So I don't have a rule for you and then a rule for the mayor and then a rule for the trash man. We all the same. A Black network speaking to the concerns of issues that are affecting our community. Our
you ready?
Community, and because we are in Kansas City, most of the time, specifically what's going on in our area.
Now here it is. You're that way. You're transparent. They have been so used to working people that's not transparent, they don't trust anybody. That's their problem. They're not transparent. They don't trust anybody because of their own shortcomings. So they're suspect of everybody, always to the point of, they're trying to get over, or he's going to put me on the spot, not knowing that you're just genuine. And that's a rarity in this town. It is a very rarity that somebody's just genuine, and they just can't take it.
I feel the vibes. Cowell, I told you, I don't go out per se, and I don't socialize a lot because I'm not going to be around you smiling in my face and shaking hands and acting like everything is all right. Because if everything was all right, you'd be doing everything you could in your space to work with me. Because we have provided sports, entertainment, and all types of things to our community, and that really hasn't been respected. So how can I respect you as a leader, whether you the NAACP, the Urban League, Freedom Inc., or Sankofa, or any of these organizations, when you're not respecting what we do for our community and you're not acknowledging it?
I learned something today. You ready? They respect it. They're scared to acknowledge it. The reason they're scared to acknowledge it, because it empowers them. It takes away their power.
I don't see how.
Truth
Yes.
takes away.
But all I'm saying is I don't see how you can't see that there's only one Black-owned digital media company like this, and you're not using it, you're not supporting it through your policies and procedures, whether you're at Southwestern Bell, AT&T, or the city or the county.
Brother Mel,
yes,
You can't be controlled.
All right.
Not being controlled, it's never going to happen. If they can't control you, they can't work with you.
Well,
This
I guess, hey, I guess it'll be Mutt and Jeff, you and myself on their backs.
That's it. And that's what I've seen in this town. I've seen that today so relevant throughout Kansas City today. I'm like, wow.
Why wasn't
Somebody
you down there with the other talking heads?
What'd you say?
Why wasn't you downtown in front of the courthouse, Negro? With other talking heads, with the indignation, and
I'd already talked to the chief. I'd already worked out what I needed to work out with him to get the guy picked up. I already made sure I talked to the prosecutor to get charges brought against him. We already worked in the background to get accomplished what we need to get accomplished. Beating a dead horse is not me.
All right.
It's the work was done already. Behind closed.
All right. I'm switching up real quick. I want to talk about ad hoc against crime and aim for peace. You know, I was looking at all of that for the last year and a half, but I've been short staffed, right? Because you know where I stay, and ad hoc against crime, they had the building that Dr. Hayth and them right here off of 31st Street and Mongol. And I moved in the area. And so for about 6 months, I'm passing that. I'm like, well, where's ad hoc against crime? So I finally run into old man Brooks. And I'm like, Brooks, what's happening with ad hoc? And I didn't even know that somebody else had taken it over, and he was really not too involved. He was like, you got to ask them. And I call it, you know me, I don't be trying to look up nobody's stuff. I said, well, text me that brother's number, and I got his number, and I called. He called me back, never got back in touch with me. But I was on their case, and I was on Aim for Peace case. But again, I have 35 shows and different networks that I wasn't trying to chase them down. But then a week ago, 2 weeks ago, they talking about Aim for Peace getting $2 million. All right.
2.5 million.
All right. And I'm like, what got me on Aim for Peace was Brandon Ellington, and this is like a year or 2 years ago. I don't know. It was a big huff about Aim for Peace and what they was doing with funding and all of that. And so I hadn't heard anything about Aim for Peace until 2 weeks ago, and they got all this money. And I'm like, this is the type of stuff I'm talking about. It's not like they don't do nothing or they don't have no use, but why don't I know what's going on with Aim for Peace 365 days a year?
Want me to help you out? I can tell you where they were a few nights ago. They were on a corner of 35th and Prospect. Now remember what they're there for. Aim for Peace is a anti-crime prevention mediation organization, right? They were there the same night at the same time the shooting took place. No mediation, no anti-crime. The mother of the victim that was shot went off on Aim for Peace because they saw her son getting ready to be shot, from my understanding, and said nothing to him, didn't warn him or anything else. $2 million on the corner of where they're at. There's been 3 shootings since they've been there in that area. I'm just kind of curious what we spent $2 million for if the crime just went up the 2 nights you've been there.
That's the same thing with the mayor. The mayor came in and said, like I said, he's doing a good job. But he came in and said, I'm going to bring the murder rate down to its lowest level. I think it was 100 homicides or whatever. And uh, under his leadership, it's been the highest murder rate in Kansas City's history.
Yeah. I'm real scared when people tell me what they're gonna do, and I haven't seen them do very much of anything beforehand. Don't tell me, show me. Then let me fund you.
What do you think about the upcoming elections?
I'm just recycle of the same old, same old. Oh, did I say that out loud by accident?
Hey, Bishop, man, cut it out. Cut it out.
Yeah, I'm sorry if it ain't working, fix it. I mean, now I can see if it is working, leave it alone. But if crime keeps going up, the homelessness keeps going up, economic development keeps going down. Change something. Don't keep using the same model. It just don't keep funding the same people. Don't keep voting the same people in office. Let's try something. Let's try something new. It can't hurt us anymore to do where we at. Let's try something new. That's all I'm saying.
What do you have to say about the Vine Street locate? You know, that whole district, or do you have anything to say?
I don't want to even talk about it.
Right.
I mean, what I mean, but I don't even want to talk about it. We've talked about it. We've met about it. We've given suggestions. We've given blueprints for it. They're not listening. So you know what? Let them stew in it.
All right. How do you feel about all the hoopla over the airport? I think one thing that they did get the airport done on time and on budget, from my understanding. But the overall thing, because I see the same people getting the same opportunities from that are being picked to be able to invest, to be able to receive funds, and the same few black people. And then they got, from my perspective, this head nigga in charge type deal where they working with the downtown council or whatever, and they're saying this is the good nigga and this is the bad nigga and this is the one we're going to work with when you start talking about control. And people might not like the words I'm using, and I'm using them on purpose because that's how I feel they're acting. And from the lens, let's take off these glasses, then I'm like, but when I can see straight, and then all you have to do is look at who's benefit and where do they live. And
you know,
yeah,
we got to get away from the house Negroes. We got to get away from the house Negroes. Yes, massa, no massa. We still enslaved in our own minds and enslaving each other in what we do. And here it is again, the airport was a great idea. It was a great idea. An ideal that still the money didn't channel to where it needed to be. There's a funk about it right now, you know, with the minority participation. We gave away too much. They lifted the minority participation off of that site. How can you lift the minority participation?
Yeah, I didn't know that. I just know one of the major people, and I'm not going to put his company on blast, but everybody knows who I'm talking about, public relations, and he had a great deal with what minority participation took place at the airport. And, you know, I'm just so tired of these people patting each other on the back, giving plaques to each other, and the community not benefiting long term. And
you know what?
Taking personal investments in these things from investments in property to the marijuana and all of that. You would be surprised on ministers and individuals. And they're doing that with our dollars being funneled into City Hall, the county, or whatever, and they're hiring these consultants to pick who gets jobs and who doesn't get jobs.
And you need to look at who the consulting companies are.
Talk to me, baby boy.
You need to start. I always say this: follow the money, follow the money, and you'll see where it leads back to, and who eventually it gets to. If you follow the money, you're gonna find out some of the same people that are voting on something are the same people that's benefiting from their own vote.
All right, we're gonna close out on that. That's the same crap that Clarence Thomas has done. And that you got a bunch of mini Clarence Thomases right here in Kansas City.
Oops, there it is.
But you wouldn't know. They're doing bonds for these buildings, and they're getting ownership in different things. And I'm not jealous about any of that. But there's not a playing field. And then we will not work together. We're so jealous of one another. I don't have no jealousy about what I'm saying, but they will try to spin, oh, he's up because he's not involved, or all I say is you can look at all my networks and show me anything that anybody that's in a leadership position that is comparable for what Cascade Sports, Worldwide, What's Up Kansas City, the Kansas City Business Association, with my own money. Show me what any of them have done with their own money without a grant or what have you.
It's hard to find it. It's gonna be hard to
show me. It's not there.
But you know what? I will say this. I am jealous of one thing. I like that sweater you got on, man. I'm jealous of it.
All right. Well, we try to be dap. You know, we think, hold it, we go back to GQ. We think
GQ.
Yeah, hold it. I'm just saying, ever since I was in high school and when I went to, I always knew how to dress, but especially when I went to college, I read John T. Malloy's Dress for Success.
Yep.
And, you know, so I do know your image is everything.
I better change my dress then.
Nah, hey, Bishop, you got the cross on, man. You washed in the blood, Negro. You don't, all of this is superficial.
Look, I always tell people, watch out now. That I will either pray for you before or after you run up on me. Take your pick.
Yeah, you know, so, Bishop.
Yes, sir.
I'm stealing Watts' line again. It was a plum-pleasing pleasure having you on the show. And as we always say in closing, when you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself. Good night.
The program is brought to you by the Kansas City Business Association.